I don't know if there's any way to come back from after 400 years of slavery, decades of Jim Crow, and just discrimination and oppression in this country.
Welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb, a community of folks like yourselves who are getting ready and staying ready for their next chapter. Well, my guest today is a sister friend because she is an award-winning multimedia journalist who has interviewed prominent names like Wendy Williams, Kevin Hart, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Stacey Abrams. Now, her passion to empower marginalized communities of color is exemplified through her work and commitment to uplift others. She currently serves as a deputy digital editor for Black Enterprise, where she covers entrepreneurship, race, culture, and leadership. Miss Selena Hill, welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb. In the interest of transparency, just a few weeks ago, I got to be a guest on your Be Heard Talk podcast.
So without further ado, I'm going to have this conversation with Erica and with Evan, our correspondent. And I want to start by asking you this, Erica.
One nugget of wisdom out of everything that you said that really resonates with me a lot is the idea of learning from other people around you, but also learning, like, it's kind of on the job training as a creator. Like, you've created something, but then you have to like constantly figure out how to make it move the most effectively. And so I started about 7-8 years ago when I was on my comeback, actually calling everything university. So it was like, I went to do radio in Sacramento. I'm like, Sacramento University. When DBL started, I said DBL University, because I'm like, these are all just schools of colleges, that I'm learning in real time. Hopefully you just get paid for now. So I think that that's very valuable for people to understand. Now, you partnered with Social Media Week to launch Branding in the Age of Black Lives Matter. I know you touched on this a little bit earlier with the marketing, but it was a weekly series on that serves to inform and educate marketers on how to effectively communicate, engage, and support conscious consumers of color. Now, We all know why this is a very necessary conversation, but did anything happen that surprised you as a result of that initiative?
Oh, yeah. So that series was amazing. And, I'm really so thankful to even have worked with Social Media Week, which has now been acquired by Adweek back in fall 2020 to produce something like that type of content. They were really taking a leap out, I think, and stepping out of their norm. But I remember the first conversation I had with Datavio, oh Lord, I'm forgetting his last name, Datavio Samuels, who is now the CEO of Revolt TV. And I remember he told me in conversation that about a lot of times advertising agencies will allocate about like 2% of their budget to Black-owned companies, which pits us, against each other. Like you mentioned, I work at Black Enterprise, and there's a handful of Black-owned media companies still left around, and we can't survive without funding and financial support. So we're literally competing for just like 2% of the dollars a lot of time, and that's something that is harmful. And I think, again, in 2020, with us having these conversations and with more companies and corporations being open to listening, we're actively making that change. Another thing that I would say that I learned, it was almost like a reoccurring theme. Many of the people I spoke to just continue to say that in order for companies to successfully reach diverse and conscious consumers of color, what they need to do is make sure that they hire, employ, and empower people of color on their staff. Don't tokenize the one Latinx person or Black person so it looks good in a group photo, but give them the power to speak up, to make decisions, and to lead. And that's what's been so a lot of times been help these companies be very, very successful. And then, like, for instance, I spoke with one of the marketing leaders at Ben&Jerry's. And Ben&Jerry's has been talking about issues from white supremacy to environmental justice and climate change since its inception. And, I remember the marketing leader was saying, who was also a Black man, he was saying it's because it's embedded in our DNA. Like, we didn't just wake up and post this Black square. Right. No, like, these values and these principles are part of the DNA of the company. And what we continued to see was all of these companies saying, like, oh shoot, we got to put out a statement on Black Lives Matter, but we don't necessarily have the language for that, nor do we have someone on staff who can really speak or represent the way that we need to be represented in order to reach this demographic. So I learned a lot. I do believe our viewers also learned a lot about how to communicate and really connect with consumers at this time, because we were protesting with our dollars, right, in our wallets. Like, yeah, we were in the streets, but then we weren't buying and supporting a lot of companies as well.
Right. You have been these conversations have become national conversations, international conversations, trending topics. But the truth is, for a lot of us, yourself very much in that mix and at the forefront of that mix, because you have been having these conversations before it became a trending conversation. You have been doing the work and creating content around these conversations for quite some time. So when it became the audit, when all of these companies decided to just post a Black square and be like, okay, we're in solidarity, and then tiptoe out, and then people started calling them like, wait, no. So you posted a Black square, but less than 1% of your demographic or your employees are actually Black or brown. Or you posted this, but you have zero representation of anyone of color in your ads. So people started calling people on the carpet. Do you think that pull up for change initiative and the idea of people calling folks out was effective?
I do. I think it was effective because it forced a lot of companies to do internal soul searching and to figure things out. A lot of them missed the mark. And we talked about that in the series, and it was all over social media. When companies were putting out, I think it was Starbucks, who, definitely positions itself as very progressive, but I believe it was Starbucks who there was an incident where someone was wearing a Black Lives Matter somewhere on their uniform and was like reported and sent home. So like things like that were constantly being called out because again, we were all awakened and very aware and actively calling for justice for, Black and brown people. So I do think that it's been effective. I do think we need much more. We cannot stop now that the world is seemingly reopening. I think we need to continue to not just protest, but petition, call our elected leaders and let them know, what we need in our communities. And also, if they're not doing a good job, vote them out and fund the candidates that will represent our interests in our communities.
I love having these conversations with you. This is exactly what can be expected on your podcast, Be Heard Talk, which is every Sunday. And you are very much up to speed on what is trending, what is breaking. So you're really talking about the same thing everybody else is talking about at the same time. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And I know that my comeback community is definitely going to want to follow you. So where can we find Miss Selena Hill?
At Miss Selena Hill, Twitter and Instagram. And that's Miss, spelled with an MS.
Miss MS Selena Hill.
There you go.
Comeback community, find and follow her. And remember, today's Sunday, so it's no day like the present to Be Heard Talk. So make sure you check out her podcast today and every Sunday. Selena Hill, thank you so much for spending time with us on Come Back with Erica Cobb.
Thank you for having me, Erica. This was amazing. Thank you.
I appreciate you. And for my comeback community, to get the full podcast, you can go to my online home and learn more about Selena there at comeback.tv. Thanks for watching.